Hi, this is my contextualization video for women's rights movement, and this is me and Debbie's, but we could not get together, so we did two separate ones. But in this, I'm going to talk about the French Revolution, the Seneca Falls Convention, 19th Amendment, and the NAWSA activism. And during the fight for women's rights is a long story of courage, struggle, and progress. It goes back hundreds of years, starting with the French Revolution, and leading to important moments like the Seneca Falls Convention and the 19th Amendment. Let's take a look at how history shaped the women's rights movement during this video. First, I'm going to talk about the incubation stage, which is the French Revolution that we picked. And the French Revolution was all about freedom and equality, and it inspired women to speak up for their rights. Women like Olympia de Gauges wrote about how women should have the same rights as men. She wrote the Declaration of the Rights of Women and the Female Citizen in 1791. Even though they didn't win those rights back then, their ideas sparked future movements for women's equality. And this just sparked the whole fever model to get equal rights in time over time to lead to the symptomatic stage. Next is the symptomatic stage, which I talked about was next. And we chose Seneca Falls Convention. And in 1848, the first big meeting about women's rights happened in the Seneca Falls, New York. Women like Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Lucretia Mott wrote the Declaration of Sentiments, saying women should have the same rights as men. This event was a key moment in the fight for equal rights and inspired more people to join the movement. This movement was a leading up to the turning point, which helped more women come together and fight for their equal rights. Other than the French Revolution, they're speaking of women's rights did not work, but now there's more movement in the Seneca Falls Convention, which got more attention to keep women's rights going. The more to fight for equal rights for women. The next stage is the crisis stage, and we chose the 19th Amendment, which after many years of protest and hard work, women finally won the right to vote in 1920 with the 19th Amendment. During World War I, women proved they could work and help the country, which helped convince people they should have the right to vote. And this was the turning point of the women's rights movement and helped women be more equal to men, even though they still didn't have the full equal rights to men. They were still getting to the point where they had more rights than they have before in history in years before. The last stage is the convalescence stage, which we did was the NAWSA movement, which is the National American Women's Suffrage Association. And the National American Women's Suffrage Association worked hard to get women to the right to vote. They pushed for change in each state and the national level, but even after the 19th Amendment, women kept fighting to equal pay, education, and job opportunities. This is where it settled, and they during this time period, and it just laid out and it kept the same for a while, and they continued to struggle for women's rights, but they still worked on it for a while during the 1750s to the 1900s. All in all, this all teach me that women equality is still important to this day, and back then it was a very big movement throughout history to stand up for women's rights and to help other people. And the fight for women's rights is not over. The work of past generations has made a big difference, but there's still more to do. Learning about this history helps us understand the importance of continuing to fight for equality, and we shouldn't stop fighting for this equality that women deserve. Continuing on, women still protest on this topic of women's rights movement, and they will keep fighting on for equal rights from the government and just to have their own say in life without anyone else saying what we can and cannot do with certain things, which our fever model shows how it got better over time in this timeline of history to make a revolution